ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात्
Om Namah Shivaya. We welcome the worldwide Hindu community to this interview with Param Pujya Lahiri Guruji, who is a pioneer of the Hindu Rashtravad movement in India. Let me give you a quick introduction of Guruji. He is very young and dynamic and works as a risk management professional in India. He has a very successful consulting career in risk management. Guruji was born in Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh, and he studied in one of the premier institutions for engineering and technology excellence in India, the Indian Institute of Technology. Guruji is also an enlightened spiritual master, and he was enlightened even as a 3-year-old child who proclaimed that his mission in his life was to create an enlightened Hindu Rashtra by way of creating the Hindu Rashtravad movement, or in common terms referred to as the Lahiri Guruji movement for realization of Hindu Rashtra. We are very honored to talk to him today and get his thoughts on some questions that we have related to social, political, economic and spiritual spheres. Welcome to this interview, Guruji. We thank you for your time. Let me start off by a little bit on the political side, something which is in the contemporary India. Guruji, so a lot of people in India, a lot of right thinking and people in India who are patriotic, who are nationalistic, have this question on their minds. So Guruji, from your perspective, what are the main challenges facing India today and what are the root causes of these problems?
As Acharya Chanakya once told, any country which wants to sustain itself while evolving into a superpower needs to be deeply rooted, be clear about its fundamental ethos, its future goals, its friends and its enemies. The problem with India is manifold. The biggest problem with India today is that it lacks a central governing philosophy. Unfortunately, the philosophy of secularism has been a much misused, politically distorted philosophy since the time of independence. Unfortunately, secularism has evolved to mean over past few years appeasement of minority communities, especially the Muslims. It has evolved to mean not to be firm, not to be ruthlessly dedicated towards the external and internal security of India, but to cater to the vote bank politics first. Just to give you an example, there have been instances where Islamic terrorists who have been convicted by Supreme Court of India, awarded death punishment like Afzal Guru, Qasam. Their death punishments have been suspended. A message is being sent that the state of India can very well be brought down on its knees just by a handful of Muslim gundas threatening of some kind of communal discord. Now the point is, if a great country like India keeps on succumbing to minority threats, its fundamental values of self-confidence, rooted spirituality, they take a beating. And a country which is not aware and firm of its roots, its ethos, its civilizational values, its strategic strengths, strategic threats, cannot survive for too long. There have been instances where China has been encroaching on Indian land. China has, in strategic partnership of Pakistan, building infrastructure in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which is an integral part of India, and India has simply not been responding. Acharya Chanakya in his great treatises has once said that the mother of a weak child is never respected in any society. That is, if your son is weak, is weak-kneed, then the mother will always is destined to face insult after insult after insult, as has been happening with India. A classic example is India won the 1972 war with Pakistan, but lost all its gains on negotiation table with Bhutto in the Shimla agreement, and we just wasted away a hard-won battle, the gains of the battle. There are millions of such examples, but one particular example I would like to tell before I conclude this answer. For a country to maintain the dignity and self-respect of its civilizational symbols is critical. Take for example, if America cannot save its national flag from burning, then no one will respect America. In the same way, there are certain symbols which represent the country, its civilization, its ethos. A classic case is the most worshipped incarnation of God in India is Prabhu Sri Ram. Babur, who invaded India, wanted to break the morale of Hindus who totally inhabited India at that point of time. India from time immemorial has been a Hindu Rashtra, a Rashtra centrally governed by its Rishi Sanskriti, by the Hindutva values. Babur understood one thing, that a handful of Islamic mercenaries can never rule India till the Hindutva Swabhiman, the self-respect for Hindutva is alive. So, like other Muslim invaders, he also started breaking, attacking the symbols of Hindutva pride. His general broke the Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir and built a mosque on it. It's equivalent to a Christian mercenary coming and destroying the mosque where Muhammad left his body and building a church on it. Such an act is nothing but an act of barbarism, an act of insult on the very ethos of the country. And when the Hindu community at large seek to re-establish the Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir, the Muslim community of India, instead of apologizing for the faults of Babur, they resisted. proving that they had the mindset to continue the insult on Hindus in India. As a result, Babri Masjid was demolished, and a struggle is still on to build a grand temple of Lord Ram, which I feel is extremely important for resurgence of Hindutva pride and hence the power of India, a country which cannot save its tradition, its culture, its civilizational values, can never ever get the respect which comes with assertive, with positive, assertive, spiritual values of a country. So fundamentally, based on these examples, I'll summarize that what are the current political problems of India, the foremost being a confusion regarding the core philosophy of India. The core spiritual philosophy, civilizational philosophy of India is Hindutva, which is nothing but the sum total of the wisdom of the great Rishi Sanskriti of Bharatvarsha, based on lakhs of years of wisdom propounded by God-realized saints, seers, rishis and sons. Apart from this confusion, the second biggest political problem in front of India today is that of the scheming of invaders who have invaded for 1,000 years, namely the Mughals, the Muslims, modern Islamic mercenaries, Britishers. What has happened is there is a deep divide created among the Hindu society on the lines of caste, on the imaginary lines of Aryans, Dravidians, on the imaginary lines of upper caste, lower caste. And this is the second biggest problem, that certain political parties for their own have vested interest in keeping up with these casteist traditions and the political tradition of divide and rule. The third biggest problem in front of India is its Muslim appeasement. It's a well-known fact that Islamic terror is the single biggest threat to the integrity of India. It is also a well-known fact that the madrasas in India are largely responsible for breeding and propagating the school of, which results into terrorism. But because these things go unchecked, because of weak governance, because of vote bank politics, that this menace is growing. The fourth biggest political threat of India is lack of assertiveness on the external front. Today, India faces a clear-cut aggressive Chinese strategy of isolating India internationally in terms of allying with neighbors like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Burma, and creating them into hostile territories against India. But India is hardly taking any measure to counter that. This lack of iron, this lack of steel is basically what has resulted into 1,000 years of slavery for India. And as a reply to this spiritual movement has evolved, whose foremost objective is to invoke that fearless bravery, that fearless prowess in each and every Hindu, in each and every Indian who is committed to Hindutva, so that he can take on ruthlessly, without any compromise, all the internal and external threats of spiritually, politically, socially, and economically.